What's up, insurance bro?
Yes.
Grab that mic and let's make it official.
Let's get this going.
All right.
Woo!
Insurance bros.
Yes.
Ooh, be careful. Number 16.
Number 16, yes. We're doing it.
I really am happy to be here. Thank you. My name is Casey Kendall.
Yes.
Prosperity North Advisors. Super cash today.
You are super cash today.
Yeah, I like your shirt.
Yeah.
That's a great color on you.
Yes, Diana has really good taste.
Yeah.
Yes, much better than my plain Jane shirts said. Yes. Yeah, so
Introduce yourself, Voss.
Voss, Spiros, Arizona Medicare and Insurance Solutions, a part of Spiros Financial. Also Red Mountain Funeral Home. So we are talking about insurance today.
Yeah.
Got a letter. You look like you got a letter going
I got a letter going out. I first hit my fellow Alaha members, so we started there.
Alaha.
However, we are going to be expanding to other assisted living homes. So not sure if you could see this, but we do have a special offer going on right now for general liability and professional liability insurance. It's completely compliant with any access program, Arizona Complete, United Healthcare, Altix.
Yeah.
And so we've got this program so dialed in right now for assisted living homes that you're looking at a 5-bedroom home. You put 20% down and you can make 10 monthly payments of $230.
Wow.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that it's starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah, it's really starting to get under control. This program that I have with a risk retention group is a really nice alternative to like, let's say, a traditional for-profit insurance company.
Yeah.
But you're still protected all the same ways. You just have a lot more control in what the coverage is.
That's great. Fantastic.
5-bedroom home, 10-bedroom home, anywhere in between there. So 10-bedroom home, you're looking with 20% down, $450 a month.
That's great.
To start. Now, your mileage might vary based off of different things. The primary way that we are underwriting those is through azcarecheck.org. So if you've got penalties, civil penalties, citations, any of those types of things, it might change up a little bit. But I have yet to not have one work.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do you do workers' comp too?
Absolutely.
Like, what were you gonna say?
Well, so that's one of the things that's actually come on really, really strong is workers' comp, especially with the Access and the AZ Complete program. They want to see workers' comp. Now, there's a lot of different questions out there as far as like if you don't have W-2 employees, traditionally, then you're not required to have work comp.
Yeah.
Now, what I have found is that assisted living homes are bringing on more of that W-2 employees to control costs.
Well,
obviously,
keep costs down.
to keep costs down. There's also some different rules in there about paying 1099 people and where they would be covered under that independent contractor. You know, when in doubt, spend the $1,500 for the work comp. Be in total compliance, leave no question about it.
Yeah.
Plus, you're gonna have that coverage. And
nice.
It's work comp is meant to protect the employees, but it also protects the employer big time.
So I got this. I haven't moved my insurance to you yet, but that's coming.
Yeah.
I got a letter from a third-party data collection that my guy does, and we have to fill out every year.
Okay.
To see what the work comp and is going to be for the next year. What is that about? Do you know about that?
Great question. That's called an audit.
Yes.
So you have to go through a work comp audit. So when you initially sign up for work comp, I'll come in and I'll say, okay, how many people work here? Okay, you've got 5 people that work here and they're all full-time. And so your payroll is, let's just say your payroll is $250,000. Right. So we take that work comp rate for a caregiver, or in your case, like a funeral director, or whatever it is,
employees.
The state sets up an actual rate. So that rate might be, let's say, $3.15 per 100 of payroll. So what do? The easiest way to figure out what your work comp will be, take your total payroll multiplied by that rate divided by 100. That's going to be your premium.
Oh, wow.
So if you had...
Sounds like a lot.
It can be. So where the audit comes in...
Yeah, what's up with the audit?
So if you tell me you've got $250,000 in payroll, but then at the end of the year, now every work comp policy, because it's run through the state pool, now the carrier is offering it, but because it's run through the state pool, you have to do an audit. And so when that audit, they're going to say, okay, we want your 940s or your 941s. Those are your quarterly payroll forms that are submitted to the IRS. So you take all of that. That's the look I've seen before. So you take all of that and you say, okay, here's my total payroll. So if you've told me at the beginning of the year, it's $250,000, but then at the end of the year, it's actually $300,000, then that audit is going to say, okay, you now owe this rate times that extra $50,000. So you will have to pay the difference in that audit.
Like all up front, or will it just kind of spread out over the year for the next year?
It depends. It depends on who you're with. Sometimes they'll offer payment terms. In this world,
it's not.
They might want a check all up front. There's a lot that goes into it.
What happens if you don't cut a check all up front and be like, you know what, I'll just pay it off?
So because you can pay it off. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The important part is making sure that you're aligning it every single year.
Right. I mean, you want to do it right the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you come in and you say, oh, it's 250, but then it ends up being 300,000, well, you might be a little pissed off at me.
Right.
But you made more money.
The rate goes up the next year.
Then the rate's going to go up the next year. So then it's set at that number.
The audit every year?
Yes.
Okay. So because your employees could go up and down, so they want to make sure they get their pay. They want to make sure they get paid.
Yeah. And so what a lot of companies are doing now, a lot of insurance carriers are doing now, is called like pay as you go. So I'm not a really big fan of work comp being handled through a payroll company. I'm not going to name any big payroll companies like ADP or Paychex or anything like that.
Of course not.
But what happens is you can report those numbers. So a lot of work comp carriers will now do what they call pay as you go. And so every single payroll period, you'll submit a report, or it'll pull it from your Intuit or whatever your payroll software is, and it'll give you that exact number. And that's the best way to avoid an audit. Now, you also could have some fluctuation as opposed to like, here's your monthly bill.
Right.
But at least you're not going to have to come out of pocket at the end of the year with a big chunk of number if you miss that audit number.
You can set that up with your payroll company?
Absolutely.
Pay as you go?
Yep. So I can set that up. You can talk to your payroll company about it. Now, the reason I don't like to have a payroll company is because when, whatever you want to say, an accident were to happen, do you want a payroll person handling that claim, or do you want a dedicated insurance professional who understands what the insurance company is working with to help you mitigate that risk, all of those types of things?
Through an insurance company, but we have a payroll company.
Right.
So they just make sure we verify that we have a workers' comp plan.
Correct. And that's normally how it happens. But, just like any other company, a payroll company is going to try to get as much of your business as possible.
An insurance agency too, and they want to sell you insurance.
They're going to try to sell you a retirement plan, and they're going to try to sell you work comp, and then they're the voluntary benefit and everything else in between.
Yeah.
In my opinion, boy, I should really watch what I say here. But in my opinion, you should go to a dedicated professional who understands those things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to my payroll guy to understand how I'm going to pay retirement for my employees.
Right.
I'd much rather talk to a financial person who's going to set that up.
Right.
That's just my personal feeling.
You know what? I requested information about life insurance and some benefits through the payroll company just because it was there.
Yep.
And they hound me like no other. And I try to say, you know what? I'm just not interested this time. You just take me off your list. But no, they just hound you. So be careful when you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they will not leave us alone.
Well, and so there's those payroll companies, they're working in teams. So, you know, you've got your payroll person, but then you've got a retirement person, and you've got a work comp person, and they're all working. So what I have seen from those payroll companies is that they'll come in with the lowest number. So they'll come in
big group plans. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll come in, and I might quote something out. In fact, I had one last week where I came in for a work comp quote for an annual basis, and it was a small house. I think they had 4 employees, and their work comp premium was $2,300 a year, which is pretty good.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good considering the amount of risk and the type of work that's being done. Well, the payroll company was coming in at about $1,400, so there was a huge difference there. And I went to my standard line of, hey, would you rather have a dedicated insurance professional or some kid who is using this job as a stepping stone?
Right. Yeah.
And what I've seen from those companies is whether it's a pay-as-you-go or you're going to get stuck with some type of audit. And if you do have a claim, they're going to just put their hands up and say, well, that's between you and the insurance company, versus someone like me or me. Who is going to be hands-on with that claim, help you manage it, mitigate the risk, work with the adjuster. You know, the adjuster isn't, I mean, here's the thing. Insurance companies are not on your side. You're not in good hands, and that lady in the blue apron hates you.
No.
So you've got to have somebody who's going to represent you in your best interests at all times. And
that's the insurance agent, because honestly, because this is how we get paid. This is how we make our money. And if we do somebody wrong, then we're not going to get any repeat business. So
exactly,
you know, if I need help on my, you know, workers' comp or something, and I go to my insurance agent, he's going to make sure everything comes out right, because he doesn't want to lose a client.
So I'm a firm believer, and it sounds like you are as well. Karma for sure, but that while I might make my money in the initial pop of the insurance, where I really make my money long term is how we handle a claim situation or a customer service situation in general. For something like this, where someone is looking for general and professional liability to qualify for access or All-Ticks or anything like that, that biggest thing is that certificate of insurance. Can you effectively get it approved? We punch those out all day long, twice on Sundays. So we know that process. I've got that template down. I've got a personal connection with AZ Complete.
This is what we do.
It's what I do.
This is what we do. We just do insurance all the time.
All the time.
You know, somebody mentioned the other day that I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, on the insurance side, I know what I'm talking about. When it comes down to Medicare and what's going on with, you know, the All-Ticks and the Access and the Medicare Advantage versus straight Medicare, I know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I'm contracted with like 16 different carriers in Arizona to pretty much offer every plan. Do I write every plan? No, but you know, it's at the same time, this is what I do day in and day out. Yes, that's what you do day in and day out, and you know it, but this is what I do.
So I think and you and I have had conversations about Medicare, and we've had it on this show.
Oh, no. We went back to Medicare. I'm sorry.
Well, no. No, absolutely. But ultimately, my point is that when you deal with such a complex issue like Medicare, like general and professional liability, like the compliance and everything that's going into that, I mean, you need somebody who lives, eats, breathes, and poops it, because it's complicated, and it gets a lot more complicated when something goes wrong.
And you know what? Assisted living homeowners, managers, they go through a lot of CEUs, a lot of training to keep up with new things for their job, for their residents, and we're constantly learning. On our end, we do the same thing. You know,
Absolutely.
as an insurance agent, I have to do 48 state CEUs every year just to keep up. On the Medicare side, right now, we're going through recertifications with every carrier in CMS, and it usually takes about a month to 2 months to get through it all. So that there's a lot of education on what we do. And then, you know, on PNC, you have the state CEUs.
Yep.
But then
We
you have
do the same thing. 48.
you know, new policies, new companies coming out. So you have to stay on top of, you know, the education. It's like you want an expert in the field you're looking to get help with. And, you know, if it's paying a little bit more to have backing, then yeah, it's paying a little bit more to have that security of someone that knows their stuff.
Well, so here's the thing is, and I think it's the same for you, is when I represent whether it's an assisted living or an insured individual, if I write that policy, unless we have some other predetermined agreement, you're never going to pay me. You're never going to write a check to Casey.
No.
You are paying the insurance company. And it's in my best interest to represent you and your needs. I am the first line of defense, not only in a claims situation, but against that insurance company, whether that's for billing, whether that's for a claims.
Yeah.
An outside adjuster, they get compensated based off of not paying claims.
Right.
So you need someone who's going to hold them accountable.
Right.
And so that's really what it all comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're never going to pay me. Yeah.
Yeah.
The insurance company pays me.
Right. The insurance company pays me.
Yeah.
No one pays us direct for anything. We go out and do a free service to find out what the person needs based around their requirements.
Absolutely.
And then we find a plan, pick between 200 different plans and find something that works.
Yeah.
For each person, for each situation.
That's another really good point. So whether it's Medicare, whether it's home, whether it's auto, whether it's assisted living home, every situation is different.
It's different.
Every single assisted living home that I've done, there's no two alike.
No.
The owners aren't alike. There's really, so that's why we have to take the time to understand what's really happening in that business and how we can service them best.
Absolutely.
And either leveraging relationships with underwriters or just basically creating that narrative to get the best available pricing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of, when I started with New York Life, they gave us a needs analysis to go and meet with the family. So it was a 8-page needs analysis. I mean, when we're talking about life insurance and financial planning, they need to know everything. And the joke was, I guess, at the end of the day, we knew more than your priest or your doctor.
Sure.
Because we knew everything about your lifestyle, everything about your medical history, so we could find, you know, something that works for each person individually. And then at that point, we have to find, you know, products from insurance companies that work for the situation. So,
well, if you think about it, like the idea of insurance is a risk for that company.
Yeah.
Of they're exchanging a small amount of money for a large amount of money. I mean, tell me anywhere else to where you can pay, let's say, $5,000 a year and get $1 million behind you, or $2 million, or $3 million.
You're buying buying money.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what people forget. They're like, you know what, my insurance premium is so high. You're right, but it's also covering up to $1 million or $2 million worth of damages,
right? That
you don't have to come out of pocket for. So, you know,
in most cases with the general and professional liability, there's no deductible.
No,
so there's no self-insurance that goes on. Yeah. So if you have a claim, you're right there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good to pay for the insurance that's going to cover your claims,
but
you know, premiums can be You know,
if you do have a claim, will your premium go up? Yeah, of course. Because now you've just proved to them that you're a larger risk. It's like a credit score.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is.
There's some things you maybe call the insurance agent to see if it's worth filing a claim for this or not.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is. Some things you have to call and you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But there's some things that, maybe you don't.
I saw a thing the other day, and we'll get out of here.
Oh, it's fine. No.
It was back before the ACA came along, Obamacare. So
Affordable Care Act for
the
anybody.
Insurance was just one of those things. Now, and there was tons of them.
Right.
Now there's 5.
Right.
And
there's only a couple carriers.
And those 5 carriers are in the Fortune 100. So they are for-profit organizations. The CEOs are making well into the hundreds of millions of dollars personally.
Oh, yeah.
So the buying power that they have, they look at each individual policy as an investment. And if you cost them money, you're done.
Right.
So that's why you need good representation. I've told clients at times, you're going to want to come out of pocket on this one with something like work comp. I had a client, not an assisted living, but they were a pest control company. And the guy said, hey, the owner called me and he said, I had a technician who was walking through someone's front yard and hit a gopher hole, twisted his ankle. And I said, okay, how bad is it? He goes, he can walk, but, we should probably send him to the doctor. So he ended up at a chiropractor. Total different story. Don't go to a chiropractor for an ankle injury. But it's also something where you don't necessarily have to go to the emergency room. You can go to like an urgent care.
Right.
And we can talk about how work comp plays out in the opioid epidemic and those types of things, because that is a real thing.
Yeah.
That maybe that's like Insurance Bros After Dark, because that's a really
talk about that one, definitely.
heavy topic. But where a pest control technician rolls his ankle, my advice to them in that situation, pay for that chiropractor, even though he shouldn't have gone to a chiropractor, but pay for that doctor's appointment and pay him, even though he's an hourly employee, pay him for the next 2 days to be off. And then when he comes back, get a signature that says, hey, I'm good to go. I'm not going to take this out on you, because work comp, those claims, they'll follow you for 3 years. And so there's an experienced modification. So everybody starts off at par being 1.0. So you've got that rate. We've talked about that rate.
Right.
Well, then you've got your experienced modification. If you have a claim, guess what? That goes up. So if you have a claim and it goes to, let's say, 1.2 instead of 1, you're now paying 1.2 times that rate as opposed to 1. So you're going to pay more. And that's going to happen for 3 years because work comp looks in the rearview mirror.
So you got to pay that for 3 years until it goes away.
So what's better? Pay a guy for 2 days worth of work and pay his urgent care bill for $400, or have a premium raise of 20% for the next 3 years.
A couple $1,000 on that.
Thousands.
Yeah.
So it's those small things like that where that separates the average insurance person to
that's
someone
that's
like me.
Good to have an insurance agent on your side that you work with. You can call and ask those questions and let him run the numbers. Like, listen, if we file this claim, you're not going to take that big of a hit. You're going to be okay. You're going to save money on this way. You know what? If you pay for the doctor and a couple days off, you actually save a couple $1,000s on the back end. So it's good to have somebody to ask those questions to, because you need to know before you just file a claim.
I got a phone call the other day where one of my work comp clients, their employee was driving to work, got into an accident, and wanted to file a work comp claim and called me in a panic. So what was my first question? My first question was, where were they coming from? They were coming from their house. Were they on the clock? No. Were they coming from another patient's location? No. Well, then they are not on the clock, and therefore that is not work comp. If they are not on your clock, then that is not a situation that you are responsible for. That is their own personal situation. Now, if they had been driving from one patient to another, that's a different story. And that would have to most likely be hashed out with an adjuster. But in that case, no, that's just a simple example of how you have to manage these situations and why it is so important.
It's good to I'll have someone to call and ask that question too.
Absolutely. What do you got going on this week?
Doing a all text Medicare talk tomorrow.
Cool.
Out in the West Valley. Then I think a video tour in Surprise, and I don't know. I think that's about it.
Wow.
You? Anything going on?
No.
No. Nothing.
No, nothing.
Nothing
Not at all.
It's the beginning. No, it's the end of the month. So if anybody needs to make Medicare changes, now's the time have a plan start August 1st. Anybody moving into assisted livings? Other than that, no, nothing.
Busy.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, be on the lookout for my flyer. If you don't get a flyer, I can still get you that deal. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Insurance Bro Voss.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Bros. Thank you.
Number 16, and we're out.
And we're out.